I think Will simply needed to win, and I think sometimes when you get caught up in a lie, I think he was young and he was inexperienced, and I think he simply had to win. I went back to them in 2009 and I said, please, I need you to clear my name.
Janet wanted it to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show.
We all remember the laughs, the theme song, and those dance moves, but what we didn't see was the real pain brewing behind the scenes. One cast member vanished. Another stayed silent for 27 years. And Will Smith? He finally admitted what really went down. This is the untold story of how the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air truly ended. It all began in September of 1990, when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air first aired on NBC. The premise was simple. A street-smart teenager from West Philadelphia is sent to live with his wealthy aunt and uncle in Bel-Air after getting into a fight. But what started as a fish-out-of-water comedy quickly evolved into something deeper. It mixed humor with hard truths about race, identity, and class. Will Smith, already a rap star, brought charm and comedic timing that made him a household name. Alongside an iconic cast, James Avery as Uncle Phil, Alfonso Ribeiro as Carlton, Tatiana Ali as Ashley, the show soared in popularity. But behind the scenes, tensions simmered. And they started with the first big change fans noticed. Aunt Viv, Janet Hubert, who originally played Aunt Vivian, brought strength, intelligence, and flair to the role. She was a fan favorite.
And I appreciate the love and the incredible outpouring. I had no idea that this character was so beloved.
But after season 3, she disappeared.
I was in the 3rd season negotiating for the 4th season when you can renegotiate your residuals and all of that. So it was hard. There were moments where I felt so broken.
Suddenly, a new actress, Daphne Maxwell Reid, took her place. There was no explanation in the show, no send-off, just a new Aunt Viv. Fans were confused, the energy changed, and so did the dynamics behind the camera. Rumors began to swirl that Janet Hubert was difficult to work with.
You know, you can never get tired of something that people enjoyed so much. But I do get tired of some of the controversy that goes along with it.
Yeah. What happened? That's what we all really want to know.
Janet Hubert was never difficult on that set. Janet Hubert was so professional, it wasn't even funny. Those things never happened. She never left the set. I never left the set. We got along great.
But years later, she revealed her side of the story. She claimed she was being bullied and pushed out, particularly by Will Smith. At the time, she was going through a difficult pregnancy and asked for a schedule that accommodated her needs.
It has been 24 years. I can't believe it. My son is now 21.
Wow.
Who I was pregnant with at that time on the show. So yes, it's been a while.
Instead, her role was reduced and eventually eliminated. The infamous switch became one of the most talked about recasts in TV history. And it wasn't just about changing an actor. It was about what the change represented: power struggles, lack of support, and a show prioritizing ratings over loyalty. Janet Hubert's exit left a scar on the show's legacy, but the cracks were only beginning. As the show went on, Will Smith's fame skyrocketed. He was becoming a movie star, and that kind of success changed the tone of the set. Some cast members felt sidelined. Others felt the show was losing its balance between comedy and message. It became increasingly clear that the series was built around Will's image. As he stepped further into the spotlight, other characters, especially Carlton and Aunt Viv, were pushed more to the margins. Still, Fresh Prince kept delivering powerful moments. Who could forget the emotional episode where Will's father reappears, only to abandon him again? That moment wasn't just great acting, it was real. Will Smith later admitted that much of his emotion in that scene came from personal pain.
Lou, If you walk out of Will's life now, don't you ever come back.
I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm gonna have me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was.
By season 6, the show was starting to show its age. Storylines felt stretched. Characters didn't evolve much, and audiences began to sense the end was near. But it was a specific moment, a final scene, that marked the emotional conclusion of the show. In the series finale, titled I Done, Will is the last person left in the empty Banks mansion. The family has moved on. Carlton to college, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv to New York. Will stands alone, taking one last look. It's quiet, bittersweet. And then he turns off the lights. That final moment was more than a goodbye. It was a symbol of the end of an era, not just for the show, but for a generation who grew up with it. It was also the last time the original cast would be together for years, because behind the scenes, the drama hadn't gone away. Janet Hubert continued to speak out over the years, accusing Will Smith of ruining her career. Will, on his part, admitted to being immature and not understanding what she was going through at the time. The rift lasted for nearly 27 years. It wasn't until the 2020 Fresh Prince reunion special that the two finally sat down and addressed the pain and misunderstanding. The moment they reunited on camera shocked fans and brought many to tears. Janet shared how the label of being difficult destroyed her career and affected her life deeply. Will, visibly emotional, took accountability for how he handled things as a young rising star. Their reconciliation was healing, but it came long after the damage had been done. For years, their fractured relationship symbolized what many suspected about the show's internal issues: fame, ego, and unresolved pain. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remains one of the most iconic shows in TV history. It opened doors for black sitcoms, reshaped the genre, and made stars out of its cast. But like many great shows, it ended not just because of ratings, but because of what happened when the cameras stopped rolling. That infamous switch, the backstage battles, the fallout that never fully healed. It's easy to remember the laughs, the dance moves, the theme song. But behind the scenes, the show was never as smooth as it looked. And in the end, it wasn't just the finale that ended Fresh Prince. It was everything that led up to it. The real story was never part of the script.